The first thing I'm going to say is that this video in particular should not be, it's not an 18 and over, okay? I'm giving you that moment right now to let you know that this is for 18 and up, okay? Well, I don't know, 16 and up, 18 and up, whatever. Use common sense. Okay. As a lot of you may know, I suffer from severe depression, PTSD, anxiety, and a couple other mental disorders that keep me from leading a normal life. I'm pretty much a housewife and a mother, and I suffer a great deal with my depression. I'm also an insomniac that has nightmares. So I have my good days and my bad days, and a lot of the reason why I wasn't able to post for so long was not just due to my skin condition that I developed. It also had a lot to do with my depression, and I have been suffering with it greatly as of late. One of the problems I face when dealing with my depression is that I have a need for pain. I don't understand why, other than the fact that my therapist has told me that in the times that I was cutting, and I don't know if you can see them on camera, but I have multiple scars on my arm, on the outside, not the inside. I only attempted suicide once, that I can actually recall, but I was not suicidal. I needed to feel pain, and I didn't understand why. And I've sought out therapy multiple times, but this last time I finally was able to connect with a psychiatrist that was able to actually talk and care about me without, being a pill launcher. I've suffered with this most of my life. When I was younger, my dad threatened to put me into a mental hospital, and that's when my husband, now boyfriend at the time, spoke to my dad and asked him, let me come out here for 2 weeks and let me see if I can get her to a point where she's stable enough to admit she has a problem. And this had been going on for a while. My stepmom noticed it because when I would cut my arm, I would do it in spars of 3, so that way it would look like cat scratch. And my stepmom immediately knew that something wasn't right. And it's not like I was trying to intentionally hide it, but I wasn't exactly trying to make it public knowledge either. I felt lost and confused. And I've been through quite a bit in the past, mentally and physically and medically and so on and so forth. But now I'm a lot healthier for it. I do see a psychiatrist. I'm on the proper medications, but I still have that need for pain, and my psychiatrist has told me that that is more than likely due to the fact that my depression and anxiety keep me in so much mental pain that I need the physical pain to feel normal. And this might be TMI, which is why I stated in the beginning of the video that this is not a video for, kids to be around. Is I have tried some unorthodox but safer measures in order to have that pain administered in a safer way. I've done everything from, I used to wear rubber bands around my wrist just so I could snap it for that instant pain. Didn't work for very long though. I have a worry stone, a soap stone that my stepmom gave me. I pretty much, oddly enough, wore a divot into it, but I have memorized every nook, cranny, sharp, and smooth point on that worry stone. And it works sometimes, but in all honesty, I still to this day fight the fact that I do need some instances of pain, and there are some that I have tried, whether it be in the bedroom or in everyday life. I do no longer cut myself. I no longer cut myself, that was a pretty big leap for me. Because for the longest time, nobody around me felt safe enough, or felt that I was safe enough around, knives. And this was long before Matthew was born, so don't think that this has been a recent thing. This was way before Matthew was born. I was not even pregnant at the time. We were able to get me over that before then. One of the ways that I have found that does ease that need is through tattoos. And my psychiatrist has said this is a much healthier alternative of feeling the pain that I need, and she doesn't worry about it so much, but we have no idea how to get me over that need of pain for me to feel on level ground is about the closest thing I can come up with to explain it. All of my tattoos mean something to me. Every single one of them. The cat on my leg is from my cat Damien, who died a few years ago. My husband got him for me because at that point in time we had been told that I would never have kids. Matthew is the biggest miracle I've ever been given. Damien was my heart and soul. He was my baby. He really was, and I loved that cat. It like to have tore me apart when he had his stroke. And when he had the stroke, Damien died, but his physical body did not. He started having strokes and seizures, and he was foaming at the mouth, but he wasn't rabid. They believe he had a tumor in the bridge of his nose, which is why his face started like curving outward. And I ended up having to make the decision to put him down because the veterinarian that we had to take him to, they wouldn't even allow me to see him unless I agreed to have him sedated. And when they brought him in the room, sedated, mind you, he was still a feral animal. It was not my Damien. Anyway, the spider on my abdomen is a black widow. And I've always felt connected to the black widow because I grew up with a lot of health problems, and the biggest one was hepatitis C. And a lot of the people around me, adults and including kids around me, always saw me as toxic. They compared it to AIDS, which I guess I can see the correlation, blood transfer versus, anything else, but I lost quite a few friends when they would find out that I had hepatitis C. And now, as I got older, I just got to a point that when I realized that a relationship, even a friendship, started becoming serious, I would let them know, hey, I have hepatitis C. A lot of them would either be like, okay, cool, and then eventually they'd stop talking to me, or they just immediately freak the fuck out and just not ever talk to me again. And I've only had a few people who have ever, stuck by, and my husband is one of them. We started dating when I was in high school. We're high school sweethearts, and he didn't care. He honestly just didn't care. He didn't know anything about it, but he didn't care. So, I educated him about it and everything. So I've always felt connected to the Black Widow because the Black Widow in and of itself it's a beautiful specimen of an arachnid. And everybody says you're supposed to find yourself beautiful, which is one of the things I've always struggled with. So I've always kind of connected with the Black Widow because the Black Widow is extremely deadly. And technically, I did have a deadly disease. It was just killing me slowly. The Trinity on my back is something that I've always deeply believed in. No matter what the religion is, there is always some form of Holy Trinity, or at least that I've been able to find. Whether it be Wiccan, or Christian, or Catholicism, Celtic, Nordish, any of them, I always find some semblance of a Trinity somewhere in there. And I was always raised with my dad teaching us about, the Celtics and stuff like that. And I guess I kind of got that tattoo for him. The one on my arm is an Edgar Allan Poe quote. It's one of my favorites that I connected with. It says, I know you can't really see it down here, but it says, I became insane with long intervals of horrible sanity. I've always connected with Edgar Allan Poe, too, but I never loved my cousin. I did accidentally date my cousin once, but as soon as we found out we were cousins, I did it quickly. Thank God I never even kissed him. Anyway, the tattoo across my back. The lily, in particular, I've always loved. As a matter of fact, the lilies were in mine and Craig's wedding. I've always found lilies fascinating because even though they're extremely beautiful and vibrant and they're just so big, the plant itself, when it starts to grow, the taller it gets, the heavier it gets, and its own stalk cannot hold it up. Which is why if you're ever cultivating them, you have to stake them, because their own weight will kill them. And I've always loved lilies, and with my spine being as weak as it always was, I was getting poor blood circulation. My nerve endings were becoming crimped. I had pinched blood vessels and nerves going through my back, and I inevitably ended up having what you would call stakes, like with the flower in my back. I ended up having to have a full spinal fusion. I have 2 full rods up my back from top to bottom. On the other side is the dandelion, with the wisp being blown away, because I loved dandelions, and every time I'd find one, I would blow on it in an attempt to make a wish for something to change. And you know, obviously it never really happened, but it's a childlikeness that I've always admired. And you know, breathing in the future and exhaling the past is something I've tried to force myself to do, not just for me, but for my husband and my son. And the wisps flying away and turning into the birds, which to me are actually ravens, which part of the Edgar Allan Poe thing, it's just being free. But for this video, I think that explains enough, and in the next one, I'll be talking more about the new tattoo that I'm actually getting, and hopefully I can actually get some footage of getting the tattoo, because I've never done that before, and I think that'll be a pretty cool experience. And Craig has not been there for any of the tattoos that I've gotten since my Black Widow tattoo. So that's it for now, and I love you all, and I mean it. Bye.